Hi, hope you've been well. Thank you for tuning in. I haven't made any videos for quite a while. This video is going to catch us up on one of the most significant developments of my entire life, which is that for the first time in that life, somebody other than myself has released my music. That somebody is a label called 7D Media. It was founded by a musician named Trey Gunn. I first became aware of Trey through his involvement with King Crimson in the 90s. If you've heard of me, then you've definitely heard of King Crimson. And there's a very good chance you've heard of Trey. So he and I have kind of been in touch and on each other's radar for many years. I first remember crossing paths with him in 2006 when he left a really nice post on my Myspace page. So we've been in touch over the years. And fairly recently, he reached out to me and said that if I was interested in this, he would be very happy to talk about the possibility of 7D putting out something of mine. And I was thrilled by the idea. I immediately got back to him and said, yes, that would be amazing. Let's please talk about this. And initially that took the form of putting together a new album of material. And that's still going to come out. That album is called Then Again. It's mixed, mastered, ready to go. And it's going to come out at some point down the road on 7D. At some point during the making of Then Again, Trey and his partner at 7D, AJ Chippereau, and myself came up with the idea of an anthology. I don't remember exactly how or when that became an idea, but it eventually took the shape of what has been released very recently, which is an anthology called Entry Level, an Introduction to Andre LaFosse. I'm laughing because this is still very surreal and hard to wrap my head around. It is a compilation of, I think, 14 tracks, something like that, from pretty much everything that I put out, going all the way back to 1999 when I put out my first CD, up to the present day with a preview track from Then Again, and all points in between. So that's about 25 years of releases that is represented on this anthology. One thing that was really fun for me is that everything's been remastered for the anthology, and I also went back and reworked several of the tracks. I either did new mixes of them or new edits. In the case of one solo guitar performance, I reamped the original performance, put it through a different amp setup than how it had been originally presented when it was released 13 years ago. Part of this was because I had access to better tools and technology than I had when some of that stuff originally came out. Part of it is that I feel like I've grown and improved as a producer. And part of it gets into the idea that Ben Burtt, the sound designer from the Star Wars films, I believe is the one who came up with this quote. He said that films are not released, they escape. And I think anybody who creates media in the digital era can relate to that. Because if we don't cut ourselves off at some point, if we don't say, okay, we have to stop, it's good enough, we're going to put it out, because if we don't put it out, we're going to keep working on it till the end of time and it's never going to get released. It's not easy to do that, but we have to do that if we want to have a body of work that exists in the world outside of ourselves. So having an anthology was a nice excuse to be able to go back and rework some stuff. If this was the CD era and people had to pay money in order to have access to this stuff or to even hear it in the first place, then I might feel squeamish about doing that. But this is the streaming era and people can listen to this stuff as much as they want and preview it as much as they want before they even have to think about spending money. So there's no pressure. If you do want to buy the stuff, I would be delighted. I'm sure 7D Media wouldn't mind too much either. But yeah, there's a compilation of my stuff out there in the world. Very new development for me. Along those lines, at some point during all of this stuff, the idea of 7D carrying some of my previous releases came up. I think it started with Trey saying that he would like to carry a record of mine called Normalized from 2003. And that eventually evolved into the situation we have right now, which is that 7D is now carrying my entire back catalog, which is like 12 odd releases plus a couple of non-album singles. And they have all of that stuff available for sale on their own website and on their own Bandcamp page. Again, this hasn't sunk in yet. to the extent that I'm able to wrap my head around it, it's hugely humbling and gratifying and validating. I don't like to talk about validation when it comes to art and creativity and entertainment, but the very short version is that I've had deep doubts and misgivings about my value as a creative person over the last couple of years. So to get some tangible evidence to the contrary is really nice and really unexpected, and a really nice antidote to how I've been feeling about myself for a long time. And I'm not fishing for sympathy. I'm not like, oh, woe is me, I've felt so bad about myself. It's just, it's nice to get some tangible evidence that somebody likes me. So all this stuff is out there in the world right now. I will put links and information about it in the description below. It's been a while since I did any video content. I will probably do more stuff in the near future, partially to talk in more detail about some of the individual tracks on the anthology, partially just to catch up on stuff I've been doing in the meantime, partially to address why I haven't done any video content for many months. But this is kind of long enough as it is, and I don't want to turn this into a huge monologue. So 7D Media, entry-level introduction to Andre LaFosse. I don't believe it, but apparently it's happening. So I invite you to check it out. Thank you so much for tuning in and for your interest. I'll talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.